There are moments in life when overwhelming tragedy and the power of prayer converge in remarkable ways. Ed and Joyce Johnson experienced just such a moment in the summer of 1959.
Well, Karen was the firstborn of 5 children, and we naturally were partly trained by her. She was a leader in many sense, being the oldest, but she had a lot of friends and a personality that drew people toward her. So I visualize her as an active young person. She was a good student, but she didn't put her whole life in the books. She was energetic and looked like her mother, so that helped her too.
For 17 years, Karen Ruth Johnson lived with an unbridled joy and enthusiasm. The oldest of Ed and Joyce Johnson's 5 children, she was blessed with a vibrant personality and a love for life. On Saturday, June 6, 1959, less than 2 weeks before her high school graduation, Karen joined with family and friends at the Johnsons' weekend cabin near Palm Springs, California.
And she was sitting on top of the Corvette. And when we came up to her, she greeted us and said to me, because she also enjoyed wearing my shoes and some of my clothes, she said, "Oh, Mom, I like your new shoes. And I like your skirt. I like your blouse, too." And she hesitated for a while, and then she looked me right square in the face, and she said, "In fact, I like everything about you." Those were such meaningful words. This firstborn love of ours was really special in our lives.
Early that afternoon, Karen left with 3 friends to return to Los Angeles. A few miles outside of Palm Springs, her car was struck head-on by a drunk driver. Two hours later, news of the accident reached her father.
And I saw my friend coming across the desert with 2 other men. And they said, "We're bringing you sad news." And I realized the other 4 children were in the house with my wife. So I said, "Is it Karen?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Is she gone?" They said, "Yes." I said, "Have you verified it?" Suggesting it's hard to believe, but there it was. They said, "Yes, we have." Then my friend suggested, "Would you like to call your wife out and tell her?" I said, "No, we'll go inside and face it together." So I opened the door, I went back in, they followed me in, and I got in the middle of the floor, living room area, and I said, before we ask God why he took Karen home in a head-on collision a few hours ago, let's thank him for the 17 years we had her. And I was able to pray that her homegoing would be meaningful in God's pattern of things.
It is one thing to thank God in a moment of prosperity. It is an entirely different matter to pray with a grateful heart in the face of a nightmare. Yet the faith of the Johnson family was based upon a confidence and trust in God so complete that a sense of hope could grow from even tragic loss.
There was little doubt in our mind that she was ready to meet her Maker. All of this developed into a comfort that we couldn't have gotten any other way. And we also began to see the future that this tragic to the world incident could make an impact on others and on the world.
Well, the prayer was that, Lord, because this is your will and we recognize it as so, we pray that you will use this to bring other young people to really know you and accept you and commit their lives to you.
On the morning following the accident, sadness and shock did not hinder the Johnsons from praying that their daughter's death could somehow result in a positive, lasting impact upon the lives of others. Within hours, an answer began to unfold.
Our neighbor, who was a friend of Karen, Betsy, came over and said, "You should go over and get the paper that Karen wrote."
This teacher had given him an assignment to write a paper on, quote, my philosophy of life. And we knew nothing about the paper. I'd never seen it.
Yet Ed and Joyce Johnson would soon discover that Karen's paper, a high school senior English assignment, completed the day before she died, would become an amazing legacy of comfort and hope.
My philosophy of life is based on the Holy Bible and the God that wrote it. I know that He has a plan for my life, and through daily prayer and reading of His Word, I will be able to see it. Knowing and loving Jesus Christ personally makes me want to please Him and accomplish things for His glory. For me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain.
For to me, to live is Christ, and to die is gain. That verse is on her tombstone. And it's very significant that she should have selected that theme. In that same paper, she goes on to say, if I should die, I know that I go to be with the Lord.
The Lord used her death in the way that He might not have used her life. And so many, many people over all these years will remark about how the Lord used that paper that she wrote that night before He took her home to change people's lives.
It's a relaxed feeling that her life has counted, her death has counted. And that's the story of Karen. Her influence was perhaps greater after she died than before.
4 decades have passed since the mortal life of Karen Ruth Johnson ended on a desert highway. Yet today, in direct answer to her parents' prayers, she still touches the lives of others. Shortly after her funeral, Karen's high school paper was published as a pamphlet titled A Teenage Triumph. Since 1959, this message, describing the true reason for a vibrant young woman's boundless joy for living, has had a far-reaching impact. The story of Karen's faith in God has now been translated into 12 languages and distributed on every continent. And each time it is read, a mother and father's prayer that their daughter's life and death could bring hope to the world is answered once again.